about whatever happened to Obamacare and health care, affordable health care for everybody. After all, wasn't that the intent? Well, it has not necessarily worked out that way. We have with us Judy Jones of Casper, Wyoming, who has a little something to say about that. Judy, welcome to the program.
Hey, Frank, how are you doing this today?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful and very pleased that you're here because, you know, I heard you on the Glenn Woods program. He's got an excellent program. And the number of dollars, what you're paying for health care, I was mortified and scared when I heard that. You're paying how much for health care, Judy?
We pay $1,500 a month, and we have a $5,000 deductible, which means I have to spend $5,000 to get anything picked up before they'll pick up anything. So if you're like I am, you're in your 50s, and you really don't. You got a couple of pre-existing things, but there's no major of anything. It could take you up to upwards of 8 months to meet that $5,000 deductible, and it's got to be done every year.
That is horrible. You know, just my looking at it, it does not appear that Obamacare resolved anything for you to your benefit.
Oh, no. In fact, it doubled our premiums. And now that we're forced, basically, to buy insurance, and we can't go across state lines, to even shop for a better system, the only people getting rich out of this are the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, it's sure not helping the people because I even know, friends that are on like SSI and disability and that, and they don't get a very big income, and they don't even qualify for Obamacare. They're paying their medical straight out of their, $655 a month checks that are supposed to be paying for rent, just for prescriptions. So, I don't know, it seems more like a way to kill off the sick population rather than help everybody,
Yes, as we come to learn about Obamacare in the practical sense, Judy, I've heard from a number of folks that have similar stories to tell, but I've never heard of anybody paying that much. I had a friend that opted for a much lesser amount through some kind of program because he was paying about $800 total for himself and his wife. And he wasn't getting anything. He was getting nothing, but it was too much for him. And so they kept hunting around, and I don't know whether they've actually been able to get anything for less money or not. I think
Well, you got to remember, too, now, there's Obamacare is telling you, go get pre-checkups. Those are free, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you go do a pre-check, like we did a colonoscopy for my husband, check for polyps and stuff like that. Okay, the checkup was free. But when he found out that he had a few of them and they scheduled him to go in there and get taken care of, we need a bill for $3,200.
Oh, my Lord. So this is just a piece.
It's a sleight of hand.
It's a sleight of hand. It's a piecemeal thing meant to deceive and to bring about, I don't know whatever other thing they wanted to bring about. I had heard from the beginning that the insurance companies were actually elated by this. The doctors were not. So somebody, like you said, is making a lot of money out of it, but it is at the expense of the people. How much were you paying prior to Obamacare?
We were paying $750 a month, and it's been that way for, I think they call it 80-20. So if we picked up 20% of it, they paid 80% of it. It's the same with this one, except our deductible was only $2,500, and our meds were pretty much covered. I mean, we were paying $15 when the medication was $90. And that's another. The insurance does not cover your medications till you meet that $1,000 deductible. And like I say, here in the United States, 1 month supply of like my Centroid is $90, so that would be almost 10 months to even hit, the $1,000 mark, and then I'd have to redo it in January again. But I can buy it out of Canada, and they're trying to stop you from being able to do that. I can get a 90-day supply of my medications and my husband's medications for what it would cost me for 1 month for us here in the United States.
Do share how one would go about buying medicine from Canada if you can.
What I do is I go see my doctor, my primary doctor, and I have them do me a 30-day supply of my medicine, and I'll have it filled right here in town. And then I'll have them write another prescription for the other half, just give me 30 days here in town, but it's a 6-month prescription. So the other 5 months, I send to this company called Northwest Pharmacy out of Canada, and they ship it right to my door for $10.
Is this an internet thing? Is that how you do that with Northwest?
Yeah, you can go on the internet. It's called Northwest Pharmacy, And like my husband, Jen, you met, it was it was diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Here in the United States, it's $233 for a 30-day supply. In Canada, it's $156 for a 90-day supply of the very same medication. That's a big, big difference.
Yes,
the pharmaceutical companies are making money hand over fist.
Yes. Now, is this northwestpharmacy.com or something, or what is it?
Yeah, it's northwestpharmacy.com. And that's all you do is get 2 prescriptions from your doctor, one to fill in town, to wait for that 30 days, because you got to get in their system, and they got to double check with your doctor and make sure the numbers are correct. Like if it's like my blood pressure pill, it's 320/25. Okay, so it's 320/25. They'll have to match that up with what my doctor has. You fax in your prescription. You can do check by mail. You can do check by internet or phone, and just transfer from your debit card or whatever with them too. Real easy payment plan. But the point is you get 90 days worth of your medication for 1/3 the cost.
That is exciting, and again, going back to Obamacare, I've not heard anything good about it. Even the editor for the Republican Rustler, that's the local paper up here in Basin, Wyoming, she had a run-in with that, in that her rate she was paying for medical care doubled also, and she was livid. So she put it out there in the newspaper that Obamacare essentially had sunk her and her husband. I've heard the same from quite a number of others. I've not seen any real movement on the part of Enzi Barrasso or Lamas, our representatives here, the 2 senators and representative, to address this issue. Have you?
No. In fact, the only one I've even heard attempt to go by this was Senator Scott. And I don't know what's wrong with that guy, but he had it so messed up that they just killed the Medicaid expansion in Wyoming just on his stupid stuff. So I don't know. But when they're talking there's 17,000 people in the state without health insurance, I just don't see those numbers matching. Like I told Glenn Woods the other night, I said, they're saying there's 17,600. It's such a definite number. Maybe that's what I have a problem with. And there's 18,500 signed up for Obamacare. Okay, so where did the other 1,500 come from? So I really don't even believe the numbers that they're trying to cover for this Medicaid expansion. And we know what the government's going to do. They're going to take us along for a little while and pay the bills for a little bit. But nobody's thinking about the $1 trillion deficit. The money's going to stop, and we're going to get pinned for that money eventually. Why not just get on these hospitals and make them come into compliance a little better instead of 1,000% markup? You go to the hospital, say, dig this, you get this little bag, and it's got a toothbrush in it, it's got a comb in it, it's got a pair of slippers, or a pair of socks or something like that. Even if you don't use them, you are going to be billed for them.
Yeah, that has become problematic. One of the solutions that was posed to getting affordable health care was to allow the insurance companies to sell across state lines, and then there would be greater competition and people could get better rates, and I've seen no movement on that front either. So there's no...
Oh, no, they don't want to do that because our boys are hugged up tight with us. So we got 3 providers in this state, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. What's ours? I can't remember the name on it. Assurance Health is one, and then there's one more. There's 3 of them. So those 3 companies picked up 500,000 people for insurance.
Oh.
I mean, I wish somebody would do that. I wish I could go out there and force you to buy, 10,000 gallons of fuel from me.
That would solve a lot of economic problems for you, I'm sure. I know where you're coming from with that. Now, I want to move on to something else. I want to move on to what's happening in the state of Wyoming. You're very much the activist. We've seen your work on Facebook. Thank you for taking the people to task who are trying to bend us over and screw us. But Governor Matt Mead, recently, he vetoed what's called Senate File 15, Senate File 15, which was approved by both the Senate and the House. And this had to do...
Approved. I mean, they big time approved that. Why he vetoed that asset forfeiture is beyond me. Unless he's looking to make that a new revenue stream for, Colorado pot coming across the borders. Well, what's going to stop them from taking some poor little old lady's lottery money that she won over in Riverton. She had to spend money to even get it back.
You're correct. Asset forfeiture. They they come to you, and because you've broken some kind of law, they take everything you own, is the way I look at it. And it's draconian, and the House and the Senate said, no, we're not going to be doing this anymore. And then he comes along and he says, yes, we are going to be taking your stuff, even if it's a mistake.
Yeah, we don't even have to charge you. We don't even have to charge you with a crime.
So
we're going to take your stuff, and then it's up to you to fight me to get it back.
Yes, so it's in true Matt Mead style, because I've seen him do a number of things like this, and I have come across no explanation for his actions, and it angers me. He treats us like we're his pawns or his lessers. You know, we're things for him to micromanage, and he pisses me off.
Well, you know, that was a big blow to the Wyoming public in general. I mean, you don't even have to be charged with a crime for them to come in and take your property, or even to search your car. You know, what happened to the time of probable cause? You know, well, that's turned into, well, you got a taillight out. That's probable cause.
That's pretty sad. We are going the way of California and losing a lot of our rights and our freedoms here. For example, stuff like that seatbelt law, I think it should be my choice whether I want to wear a seatbelt or not. I don't want to be punished for not wearing a seatbelt. It really pisses me off that I'm treated like a child, and they force me to wear a seatbelt, or they force me to wear a helmet if I'm riding a motorbike of some kind. You know, you just don't treat free people or adults in that manner, and I'm tired of being forced. Now I'm being forced to buy a health insurance, and everything is coercion, everything is force, and there are no latitudes left for selection and freedom.
Yeah, and if you don't buy their health insurance, what are they going to do? They're going to take your income tax.
Yes.
Okay, now that involves an IRS deal, which the IRS shouldn't be involved in health insurance. Neither should the government. You know, that should be something left up to the individual. Like, I'm 51, okay? I'm forced to carry health insurance for birth control. Well, what the hell am I going to do with birth control at 51?
Yeah, you're darn right about that. The country has gone to hell in a handbasket. There isn't any doubt about it, and people got to stand up and take their freedoms back. One of the biggest problems I see, the average citizen is unmotivated, hasn't got a clue as to what's going on, even when they vote for somebody. To point, they all voted for Matt Mead, and here we are, and he's doing what Matt Mead knows how to do, which is to punish the people. That's all I can see.
You know, the sad part about it is, you know, people claim to be Republican, or they claim to be Democrat, or they claim to be whatever, but when they're told by their party leaders, you've got to vote R all the way across the board, you can't pick out the bad Republicans or the bad Democrats. These guys are blindly following these platforms, and they don't even know who they're voting for.
Yep.
What the man stands for. I mean, when I even go to a county commissioners meeting, okay, I can look around the room on any given Tuesday night, and there's 7 people there, and 3 of them are bailiffs.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Well, Wyoming has got to receive a wake-up call, and people have got to get on board and start doing something. Now, there is a lady that's going to be hosting a, what do you call it, a protest here in March. That would be in March 30th, I believe it is. And March 27th or March 30th, and she is one of the persons on this program. Her name is Jacqueline Suzanne Judd, and we would hope people would turn out for this protest in Cheyenne, so that begins to shake it up a little bit, and we'll see where we go from there. We still have the issue of the refugee resettlement program that Matt Mead will not speak about, but that's something.
Buddy, hidden in the background now, huh?
Yes, yeah. He has hidden it in the background. Nobody talks about it. It's like it's forbidden to mention it, and you can't get any information out of him. The last time I called, they said that, well, he's waiting for private enterprise to pick it up. What that means is the moment somebody steps up to the plate, and private enterprise means some non-government organization like Lutheran Family Services or something like that.
Partnership. Yeah,
right.
Public-private partnership.
Then it's on. They start bringing the third worlders here that don't speak English, and tell me how that's going to be a boon to Wyoming with clashing cultures, people that don't speak English and cannot work for a living. How is that going to make the state any better? And this fool of a governor, when I last spoke with him personally, which was during the time that he was debating, what was the fella that was running for governor? Help me out here, Judy.
Willis, Haynes.
Haynes. Haynes. He was debating Haynes in Casper, and I had an opportunity to personally speak with this governor, and I said, your refugee resettlement center, that's what I would call it. And he said, oh, people don't understand about that. We're not reading. I said, look, I read your letter. Said that the state of Wyoming has elected to pursue, and he says, oh no, and I said, look, I know how to read English, I understand English, and he said, you're not a very nice man, and he turned around and he walked out on me. That's all I got out of him, out of his lame ass, as he decides to destroy this. And I want him to fess up to what he's up to. You know, I'm not anybody's subject, I'm not his goddamn little boy. I want to know what this asshole's up to. What about you?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you have to search hard, high and low through, everything from the agricultural magazines that we publish in the state to backwater little radio shows to find out what our governor and our senators are up to. I mean, Enzi's introducing that bill that he wants to tax internet sales.
Yeah.
That's another one that just blows my mind. To me, these guys are doing what I like to call their revenue searching. They're trying to find alternatives to revenue. Even, for example, like here in Casper, our city council, they were discussing with Andrew Beamer. He was discussing about charging businesses downtown for the rainwater falling on their roof.
You're kidding me.
No, this was last summer. Yeah, it was 2013 or 14. And I went to a city council meeting, and I was like, holy smoke. These guys are trying to figure out revenue streams. They're trying to keep their DDAs alive, these economic development organizations. Their hands are in our pockets so deep they could tickle your toes.
Yeah, I quite agree. And going back to Enzi, I did talk to him about that, and I said, ever since I was a little kid, every time there was a problem, a politician opened his mouth and the solution was a tax. And you're telling me that having an internet tax is a good thing? Come on, get real with this thing. He didn't appreciate it.
How would you even regulate it? How would you even regulate it? I mean, Wyoming sales tax is not the same as Colorado. It's not the same as California. And if you're taxing it from the destination or to the destination, who's in charge of collecting that money? How do you get it to the state? And what happens if you miss a receipt or you miss something? I mean, there's nothing to back that up. There's nothing to back of it.
No, but people voted for him anyways. We had alternatives to vote for senator, and people voted for Enzi anyway. So here we are. We're stuck with his stupid internet sales tax. I don't know if it's going to go through or not. I'm sure at some point in time it will come about because government cannot resist the urge to take our money any way that they can.
Yeah, I look for a federal income tax on it. With this mineral being what it is and falling through on the oil and gas prices, because we're not going to bounce back overnight, boys and girls. It's going to take years to recoup and get the pricing back up to where it needs to be. I mean, even us, we're fuel carriers, and at the racks, they were cheap price. And the gas stations were just gouging the American public, They were still making $1.25 off each gallon of fuel. And at the racks, it was, barely breaking $1.25.
Yes, ma'am. All across America, I would call it rape, the rape of the American wallet, and we really were sorely being taken advantage of. Judy, thank you so much for the interview, and thank you for going out there and going to war against the politicians as you do. Any final words before we go, ma'am?
I would just tell Wyoming people, start paying attention. Don't just pay attention to what's in the paper. Search out. Do your own research. Attend county meetings, city meetings. get informed, because you're the ones that's going to pay the price. You know, people who have money and going to bounce back, but the ones that are struggling right now, we're going to lose you. You're going to have to leave Wyoming if you're going to have any hope of working or making any money. So get informed, stay involved, and thank you, Frank, for taking time with me. I really think this is important issues that need to be addressed by the people. So.
All right, Judy Jones, thank you. May God bless, and we will speak with you soon, madam. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks.